All right, we're doing our usual Monday stream. I hope that people enjoy it. The sequel to the Dead by Daylight adventures that I did yesterday. I still have a lot of other matches recorded. I just decided the ones that were in that one are from what day was that? I think it was Friday night. Let me look because I have some other people I like to play with as well. That I'll post my matches with them on. So that's why I'm bringing it up. Because the ones from the first one were at the start of the month, and the ones from the second one were from the 27th, so like 3 days ago. Yeah, I have some matches where people do stuff that I find really cool, like, very smart and unique. I even, when I recorded one of them, showed my brother one of the matches where I was playing with this person who has a username that I don't want to say because I think it could get me demonetized. And they and another person stood in front of the, what do you call it? The hook until I could. So they both took a hit and then would run off as the killer would try to hit them and knock them down as well until I could get free. And it's just, it's so nice to see players that are like, we don't care if we win or lose, or we don't care if you hit us. We're all together. You just don't see that kind of stuff in matches more often than not. So I'm definitely gonna put that in one of these because I really like playing with that person. They just have a very unique style of doing things, I guess, the best way to put it. I actually did have a match yesterday where um, I spawned in a house in front of a generator, and then I start to do the generator because it's like whatever, why not? And then Leatherface, who is the killer in this match, shows up, knocks me down after maybe 20 or 30 minutes of chase, not minutes, seconds of chasing, and then puts me on the hook. And then for the rest of the match, I'm on the hook. And when someone tries to rescue me, he just knocks him down with the chainsaw because it's one hit. That's it. So that's the lamest thing ever. I guess just to be taken down that quickly into the match, and then to be like the indirect result for why these other people get knocked down. And that person that he knocked down was still able to escape because he just sat in front of the hook. But it's, stuff like that is not really that fun. I don't know which one is worse, getting put in some kind of incapacitated state before we've done one generator, or probably because I've even had some matches where I'll literally get to the part where we're supposed to exit and then you get killed there. And that's the most frustrating thing in the world because of how you just barely, didn't make it. So I'll do another one of those this week. Maybe on Wednesday, maybe on Thursday, one of those days. And I was reading X-Men earlier. I'm on issue 50. They had this several issue arc. That was the thing that was really interesting. Like when I first found out about the book getting canceled after issue 66, like, oh man, that means that these probably were bad. And I was like, well, I kind of enjoy these. I don't know why people you know I mean, I don't think they're any worse than any of the other early Marvel stuff. Yeah, I mean, it's not like an insult. It's just kind of like I don't, I like several things about these. I like this team. They all have their own unique personalities. Um, I was really surprised by it. Like, I guess maybe the one thing that is standing out is that they do kind of have a Fantastic Four vibe going on, where they all, this is up until issue 40 when they get new costumes. They all wear the same similar type costume, and they have this like overarching villain. So like Magneto is to the X-Men, with Doctor Doom is the Fantastic Four. Uh, but I enjoyed it. I've been enjoying it. and I'm glad that we're at the the tail end stretch of those. Just 16 more to go, and then we can get to the really good stuff. Giant size X-Men and Claremont era. Here I come. Yeah, the case on my phone's been coming off. Had this case for 2 years, so it's done a pretty decent job of lasting, I suppose. No, there. I would like to, just kind of talk about some of these guys that are behind because there are a lot of very important people in the comic industry. Like, if I wouldn't, I don't think I would do like a documentary on Stan Lee because that's already been done. Um, Maybe one on Kirby because he's also someone who's very prolific and who didn't get the attention that Lee got because he kind of died prematurely as far as like not being around when the movies started taking off. But it's like it's those two, then Ditko, and then like somewhere around that same pool is like Gary Conway because even though the only character he made that is really really well known is Punisher, he was important to the overall mythos of Spider-Man with killing off Gwen Stacy. Um, but Claremont is like just in a like there's an entire he made like 20 or 30 different X-Men characters. And again, two of the films, or excuse me, three of them have been based off of stories he wrote. So Days of Futures Past, X-Men 3 and Dark Phoenix, they're based off of the Dark Phoenix saga. So he's a very important man. And I just think that if someone is a fan of the X-Men, he definitely if there's a person to know about behind the scenes that's not Stan Lee or Jack like the creators, it's him. 15 years on that book. That is a level of dedication seldom seen in a comic writer. And I really do sometimes despise Marvel for like their inability to what's the way of saying it actually keep up with writers like to make their stuff readily available because if they put up a let's say a Claremont omnibus or some kind of book that just has all of the issues he wrote from was it like 94 to 200 or something I would definitely get that. That's how highly I think of that man's stories. Again, people I don't think they understand certain stuff until you explain it to them. But if you go and you look at most comics, you have writers who will stay on it for 2 years, writers will stay on it for 3 years, 4, 15, by a guy who didn't even make X-Men. That's how much he cared about that team. I don't think if we went through the history of any character or franchise relating to Marvel or DC, you could find a person who did more for that IP that did not create it than Claremont on X-Men. He is very influential. Some even argue more so than Lee, because Lee was only with the book for the first 19 issues. Like Stan really only cared as far as like staying on a book for a long time about Spider-Man and Fantastic Four because he was with both of those for over 100 issues. He didn't even stay with X-Men for 20, you know. So it's while he does, deserve credit for the basics of the what the team is, it still has been other people who came around, especially Claremont, who came around and redefined that group. So I'm really excited to get to the Claremont stories. And I'm very close to getting there. I might be able to finish the rest of the original 66 by the end of today. I don't know. I will read Lee's run on Fantastic Four. Like even though that's not my favorite team, I do think it's still important because that was their first best-selling comic. Like it predates all the other titles they had, so it's like a way of paying tribute to, something that kickstarted Marvel effectively. You really don't get any more early Marvel than like I guess Timely Comics from the 40s. That was funny that this one guy was like, Avengers are just a poor man's version of Justice League. I said, well, there's a reason why when the MCU finally started showing up, they actually, they couldn't use Fantastic Four or X-Men. Like there's a reason why those groups were bought out by other studios and Avengers was still kicking it at Marvel. I wish this guy would go away. It would be so nice. For someone who claims I need to change, they sure have shown up on 3 consecutive streams. There's always that nice little irony. You guys always talk about women except when you're not. Dude, that's the biggest lie that's ever been posted on this website. We have so many different videos that are about the news or some other topic. Like that's how you know someone doesn't know what they're talking about. If they claim a channel that regularly pumps out stuff of different topics is about one thing. You said that on last what was that last Monday? Yeah. You guys are always talking about women. And then when something else gets discussed, you disappear. Hey, we're gonna ask you if your name is Sue Storm. You act like Invisible Woman if we talk about the news or anything else. Akatsuki Merchant, I was talking about Marvel, and then he comes in here talking about someone's attire, which has nothing to do with what I'm talking about, and then won't concede the fact that last Monday he tried to accuse us of only talking about women. And last Monday said you need to change, but keep showing up over and over. That's why I call them recurring villains. Like you're going to be antagonistic to me, and then when it gets brought up after that, you need to move on. It's like this wasn't last year; it's a few days ago. You only talk about women. That's why when I came in this stream, you were talking about Marvel because you only talk about women. I want to talk about yeah. If you want to talk about comic books, why would you come in here saying nice outfit after already getting in trouble for writing some weird comments about do you wear anything else? I've been analyzing your attire. So creepy. I'm laughing to Akatsuki Merchant. I'm giggling as well. No, I don't understand this at all. Who keeps showing up to a channel with someone they say needs to change? That's like me saying that what's a good example? They need to change the direction of I don't know, Star Wars, and every time they put out a new movie, here I am watching it. It's like, wait a second. If they need to change because the films aren't good anymore, why do you keep going to see them and giving them your money? Yeah, he came in here saying nice outfit. It like if he was serious about wanting to talk about Marvel, guess what he would have done? Made a comment about something I was saying. But again, because they're recurring villains, they write this antagonistic stuff and tell lies. You only talk about women. I told you about that one guy 3 years ago who said you need to discuss something else. And then when I was talking about Israel for a stream, like just one stream on Israel, he just vanished. I tell you, that's the biggest lie among those like I don't even know what you call them, like people who don't agree on the romance stuff. They always try to say you should discuss something else, But the way you know they're full of crap is that very seldom do they actually come to hear you address something else. Because they're not actually trying to help anybody, they're just screwing with you. Jesus Christ. These people will not go away. We're probably gonna end up seeing that Tony guy again because they like to keep reappearing. That's why we called him Frieza, this one, the Nizam person on that stream from last Monday, because they won't go away. You can ask them nicely. They can write all this gross stuff about you, but they'll just keep coming back. They're like cockroaches. It's really insane. No, I do want to do like a sequel to that Legacy and Remembrance stream because I just think if people make something important that and you care, claim to care about it, you should know about or at least experience what they made or know who made it. It's like there are a lot of people who know who Stan Lee is, right? From being the face of Marvel for decades as the creator of most of their characters, but I venture to say that an overwhelming majority of people have never read most of the stuff that he wrote. So, which again really is a shame because I've heard a lot of good things about his Fantastic Four run, which I'll get to after I finish with some of the X-Men stuff I've been reading. No, you read what's that? What's the opposite gender version of Playgirl magazine? Since you're gonna try to ask me what outfit I'm wearing, all this other homoerotic stuff. Man, that was creepy. No, the biggest lie I've ever seen is you only discuss one thing. So you know what it is? It's that they're used to like messing with other people that talk about the chick stuff who do actually only ever talk about that. And they try to lump you in a box with the rest of them. That's why I don't like the I word because they just use these words and these like catchphrases to try and shove you into categories that you don't fit into. What about the movies or TV shows? Would you say they're canon? Canon to what? I mean, they're canon to each other. I remember back when Iron Man came out, the first one, a lot of people wanted to say that that was canon to the Raimi Spider-Man trilogy, and then after Spider-Man 4 got canceled, they kind of corrected course. But yeah, they're canon to each other. MCU stuff is canon to MCU stuff. There are a lot of stories I wish weren't canon, but I still acknowledge the fact that they happened. Like I would love to erase Ultimatum, where they killed off all these different characters in the Ultimate Universe, but it still happened. Man, the Ultimate Universe is just a really ridiculous experience to read. They take all these classic characters and they give them these modern retellings or just original stories here and there. And then they say, hey, instead of giving these alternate versions of these characters that people have grown attached to over 5, 10 years, a happy ending because we don't want to continue this brand. Let's just kill everybody off in this violent, was it 5, 6 issue story? I'm never forgiving Jeff Loeb for that one. Like some of these comic writers actually do lose their minds. Like the thing they write just is insane. But yeah, explain what you meant by canon. Like, are you saying that do I believe the MCU is canon to itself or what? Let me close this. Oh. Man, Akatsuki merchant really came in here to say haha and then vanished. I am getting tempted to do a Akatsuki video just on like why that group when they were introduced looked so cool and how they just fell off really hard, like an Akatsuki wasted video. Because every time I see a video on that group, it's the same like two things. It's weakest to strongest, which I don't care about power levels in any show, because the writer can just decide tomorrow who's strong and who isn't. Or like these hypothetical matchups. Could Madara defeat the Akatsuki by himself? You know, just nobody really talks about who was used well and who wasn't. So I'm tempted to do that. I think I've seen one video on the whole website actually addressing the characters of these people and like who could have been used better. Again, the biggest reason I'm kind of like tippy toeing around doing this, I don't make Naruto content. I said before, I'm not nearly as much of a fan of it as I was with Dragon Ball. So, uh, I might do it. I don't know. I just have to take the script and see what it looks like. No, every video I see about that group is the same thing. Here's the Akatsuki members ranked from weakest to strongest. Here's an analysis of whether inter-character here could defeat the whole group. It's like, I mean, I guess that's cool and somebody likes it because they do get thousands of views. Like, I don't really care. You know, it's because they're all the same. They go, oh, this person would lose and this person would do this. I just start rolling my eyes. This one guy said that if you like anything, right, there's a lot of people who only like it because of the way it looks or, you know, power ups or whatever. I start to kind of believe that when every video I see on this group doesn't actually address anyone's character. It's just, is this person stronger than this person? Like, oh, here we go. Just like I was talking to my best friend a few weeks ago about how I personally like the character of Supergirl more than Superman because I find it interesting that there's this alien who grew up on another planet who is not accustomed to living on Earth, who has to be reined in by her cousin who's much more down to earth as a result of being raised there since he was a baby. And my friend was like, "Oh, so you're saying that?" Because I mentioned that because Supergirl is not as reined in as Superman, she is more prone to acting violent and showing off more powerful moves during fights because she doesn't care as much or isn't as used to kind of reining herself in as her cousin. He was like, "Oh, you're saying Supergirl is stronger than Superman?" I was like, "No, I'm just saying that it's the same thing of like everybody's so fixated on power levels, you're just rolling your eyes." It's so weird how writers are so afraid nowadays to give any depth to their villains. They give you the itty bitty little tiny stuff. Just like we had this discussion during the MCU stream. I was like, Thanos is supposed to be the big final antagonist of the MCU, and the version of him that's in Infinity War has 2 minutes of screen time before that movie. You have over 20 plus movies before Infinity War, and you don't include him in any of them except for like a cameo or a brief scene. And like, it's just, and it's like, oh, I get that they expand on his character during Infinity War, but for a movie that is juggling so many characters and for an antagonist that's been built up for years, he probably should have had at least one more film, like a prequel about his relationship with the different sons and daughters he collected across the universe to expand on his character. They're running out of ideas. What villain can you make that's so original and not cliche? No, I was just saying for Akatsuki Merchant's comments, like they really did take this antagonist and build him up year after year, and then use him for one movie basically, and then kill him off, and then bring in an alternate version of him that doesn't have any of the character development. It's like, I just think it's really anticlimactic for the biggest villain of your whole 11-year saga to only be in one movie basically. Everything else he's in, he has one scene or a cameo or something like that. Oh, you know what? Since that Nizon person brought up Spider-Man, okay, so I don't like Dan Slott. I call him Slott. His real name, last name is Slott. He was the writer for like 8-9 years, supposedly the longest running one ever. Like that's some big accomplishment. And about 2 or 3 days ago on Twitter, he got caught for going in someone's private messages, so DMing some guy on YouTube and going, "How dare you follow this person and that person and this person?" Oh my, it was just so nice to see people that don't read comics talking about how weird and bizarre of a human being he is for doing that. Like, I've never seen an accredited Marvel writer be such a petty, vindictive, strange guy as to go in someone's DMs and like question them about why they follow this person or that person. I'll always remember this one guy was doing and he deleted his channel, so I can't show you the video. There was a Spider-Man story that Slott wrote. I don't remember the name of it, but I remember the cover. Like, if I saw the cover, I could say what the story was. And in modern stories, they don't like to put him with Mary Jane because that's stupid. One More Day, Brand New Day, terrible garbage where they retcon the marriage. But this guy was reviewing the story where Peter's in a relationship with this chick named Carly. And he said something to the effect of, based off of how Slott writes romance, I don't believe he's ever been with someone. I was like, how do you have like that's a hell of a nasty thing to say about somebody that's like 50 or 60. That's hilarious. It was just one of the nastiest things I've seen somebody say about a comic book writer ever in like anything. Oh my god. Oh, here it is. Which website is it? Like, I'm trying to find the most accredited website that's talking about how insane he is for what he did this week. Okay, I'll just send you this one from the Mix, which again, this is not a site I really like, but this did happen. Like the guy, if you don't believe this source, you can go and look up Slott's name on YouTube and you can find other people talking about how insane he was. Right, but old villains who get recycled over and over will lose popularity over time. I don't know. I think Joker's a fairly old villain. He's been around since the 40s, and he's considered one of the greatest comic book characters of all time. And I've actually seen him top multiple greatest villain outings, which sometimes have extended to include villains from other media as well. Again, it depends on what you're talking about, but If you take a series like Naruto, right, the one I was talking about, um, a lot of antagonists are introduced, and they might show up once or twice before they're killed off. And even if you say, okay, well, oh, that makes them stay fresh, like, yeah, but we didn't get any development. We didn't get to see their relationship with the protagonist progress that much because they're introduced, they show up twice, and then they're killed off. And that was going to be one of the points I made about the Akatsuki video, that a lot of the members who are not Toby, Itachi, or Pain, and then to an extent Kizame, because he does show up early and sticks around for most of it, are given one or two times to show up, maybe a little bit of backstory, and then killed off. So I'm not really burnt out on any of the members of that group because a lot of them we only get to see once or twice before they're discarded like trash by the writer. Let me see where this thing is. Give me a second. I'm gonna read the article. This is hilarious. Marvel author Dan Slott, who may be best remembered from either his previous run, The Amazing Spider-Man, his current run on Fantastic Four, or his disastrous appearance on Disney Plus's Marvel 616. I didn't even know that he had an appearance on there. I want to know why it was disastrous. Recently admitted to not only policing who a fan followed on Twitter, but also blocked them after discovering said fan followed a number of Comicsgate affiliated accounts. On August 20th, comic book YouTuber Joshua Quirk announced via his personal Twitter account that he had been blocked by Slott because I disagreed with him politely. Then he responded and blocked me before I could respond, further noting this is another reason why comics nowadays are crazy. I like Dan. I just disagreed with on one thing. In the screenshots provided by Quirk, the YouTuber can be seen responding to Slott's assertion that we'd be in a wrong place with more American deaths than if Trump was still in office, by arguing that the border crisis, Afghanistan, gas price, jobs, inflation, all would be taken care of way better, and some would have never happened if Trump was still in office. Afghanistan would be just as bad or worse because of how Trump was actually dealing with the region, how Stephen Miller was screwing up the visa process, Slott speculated in reply. Gas, jobs, inflation, the economy would have been far worse because no vaccine rollout and far more American deaths. Taking notice of Quirk's announcement that he had been blocked, Slott informed the YouTuber, I blocked you because I checked who you were following. And you are following a number of accounts that are members of an online hate group who have actively harassed people in the comic book industry who are from marginalized communities, including POC, LGBTQ, and female creators, he added. I didn't know female creators were part of a marginalized community. Like, aren't there like in the US a pretty similar amount of women to men? Like, it's not like there's 90% men, 10% women, or any crazy like that. Okay, while Slott did not specifically name the hate group in question to which a number of the accounts Quirk follows supposedly ascribed, given his description that said group actively harassed people in the comic book industry, it can be safely assumed that he is referring to the Comicsgate movement, which has routinely been described in similar terms by numerous comic book professionals. To that end, at the time of writing, a cursory glance of the 550 accounts Quirk follows confirms that he follows such Comicsgate related accounts such as Chuck Dixon, Just Some Guy, Heels versus Babyface. Oh, I'm so sick of that guy. And that person is another one of these people on YouTube where it's like, oh my God, this new thing Marvel put out is so bad. That's why I'm going to keep watching it over and over. Engeltine and Douglas Ernst. However, Quirk is also following a number of comic book accounts who have vocally positioned themselves counter to the Comicsgate movement, including those belonging to Mark Waid, Jerry Ordway, Ron Mars, Kurt Busiek. Pushing back against Slott's childish assumptions, Quirk declared, Dan, I follow a lot of people from the left to the right. I do interviews with comic creators from Mark Russell to Brian Hill, he continued. I'm not a Republican or a Democrat because I feel that it puts me in a box. I follow both sides to see what the other side is saying. That's it. However, this explanation was unsatisfactory to Slot, who wrote in response, "This isn't a question of both sides. You follow a number of accounts that have actively harassed people in the comic book industry because they're from marginalized communities," claimed the Marvel writer. "That's not a left or right thing or a Dem and Republican thing. It's a right or wrong." Offering a further explanation, Quark noted, "If they did something screwed up, I'll call them on it, but I don't know who you are talking about. I have over 500 people I follow and don't even see 100 on a day. Most of them are from years ago," said Quark. "But if you still want to block me, go ahead. It's your account, man. XOXO." Acknowledging Quark's post, Slot simply wrote, "I get that." And when asked by the YouTuber if they were good, the author again offered a simple one-word answer: "Sure." In conclusion, his interaction with Slot, Quark deleted the relevant thread because it was spreading a lot of hate. "I didn't think it would blow up like that," concluded Quark. "Please only spread love." What do you make of Slot's policing of a fan's Twitter account? Let us know your thoughts on social media or in the comments down below. I'm like, who the hell is this man to tell somebody who they can follow? "I've been looking at the people you're following, and I have a problem with it." It's like, you're not my dad. You don't get to tell me who I can and can't follow. There's more women than men in the US, but women are more. That's what I was saying. I think maybe he's talking about there are more men in the comic industry than women, but women in general don't, like, men read more comics. So doesn't it make more sense that there are more men than women in the comic industry? Like, here's a field where we can prove that it's mostly men, specifically white men, but whatever, who read books, right? Read comics. So wouldn't it make sense that it's mostly that same group who's making it? Marginalized doesn't mean minority. You know what? I mean, I guess, but in the way it was used in that article where they say LGBTQ, which are minority groups, most people are straight and, not part of the other. Again, like, I'm not in. I always have to clarify because people like to, play the little game of the language police. LGBT members make up a smaller portion of people than straight people. Uh, so when you say LGBT women and then this other thing, it makes it sound as if you're trying to say women are also a minority or part of these, like, protected classes of groups. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That, I think maybe they're referring to there being less, like, a small number of chicks that make stuff in the comic industry, but again, it's like most of the people that read comics are men. So what do you I just can't believe he really went on in somebody's DMs and was like, "You think you can follow this person? I would have something to say about it." Something is wrong with that guy. That's why he earned his nickname Dan Snot. I like how that just happened, like, coincidentally. Like, we were just talking about how ridiculous he was about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and then this happens, where he goes in somebody's Twitter and decides to tell them what they can and can't read or who they can and can't follow. Oh, Wikipedia didn't add this. I wish they would, but we know that anytime you want that site to add something that you think is interesting, they won't. His article does look like it was written by him, where it's like, Diamond Comics released its list of the top 100 best-selling comics of the decade, and 9 of those titles were ones written by Slot. I'm like, okay. Wow, out of 100 books that were best-selling, I wrote 9 of the best-selling ones, even though almost all of them, from what I saw, were attached to a character who already sells better than pretty much every superhero besides Batman and Superman. It's like you're writing Marvel's mascot. What do you expect is going to happen? That's not some accolade you've earned, you know? Yeah, out of those 9 best-selling books, only one of them is not related to Spider-Man. It's like you're writing the company's mascot, the most iconic superhero outside of like 2 of them, and and it's like supposed to be some big like thing that you wrote, whatever. All it's just funny that people make stuff like that seem like it's some big accomplishment. Marginalized means there are certain stigmas surrounding a certain demographic. Men can be a marginalized group. Oh, we're very marginalized with that romance stuff. Like I said, you think if a woman comes online and talks about how stupid men are, people are going to say she's part of the involuntarily not getting none group, and that she hates men and she's going to commit violence against. So you see what I'm saying? Of how like one group gets to talk as much trash about the other as possible with no stigma, but then if you talk trash about women, and you can even say some, but just if you talk trash about women ever, you're part of the group. You're part of the romance team. No, man, straight men are one of the most, well, again, when it comes to this chick stuff, you can make a really solid case are the most marginalized group out of any of them. Because I've seen gay men talk about other gay men, right? Like how frustrating it is with some, and no one says they're part of a group that can't get a man to like them, or that they're gonna do something to another man that's violent. No other group has that. It's only us. Yeah, but I don't think people can. Well, yeah, because people don't care about straight men. They don't. We don't matter to them. And hell, they really don't care about men in general. Like why do you think the draft only has men in it? Dude, it was the funniest thing when I was trying to get financial aid in like 12th grade, and I had to sign up for the selective service. And my grandma was like, "Oh, you shouldn't." So I was like, Hey, if they want to try to enlist me, I'll be the first one to disappear. I'll be the next Jimmy Hoffa. I'll be streaming from Canada or Russia or some other place. I don't feel bad admitting that either. I'm not gonna die in your banana war for some people who don't give a damn about me. No, nobody cares about men. We should make that like video or stream that like when will men matter? It's like that's why I said if I did what these guys do, right? Of like you go to a woman's stream and she's talking about something, making some points, whether you agree or disagree with them, and the response you have is to say, "Oh, I think you're uglier. How many times do you wear this outfit?" People would have a problem with that. They would say, "What's wrong with you? You're not offering anything constructive. She should just get rid of you to make it to where you can't comment anymore." But like I said, when people do things to men, nobody cares. The only time you're a man and you get like anyone shows the tiniest bit of like actual concern for you that's not a family member is maybe if you get shot by the police or something. Hey, remember we did that about BLM? It was like you can't get hired by anywhere. Nobody cries. Nobody protests. You can't make your show because voice actors won't read a piece of paper. Nobody cries. Nobody protests. But you can't get more viewers no matter how much effort you put in your videos. Nobody cries. Nobody protests. But if you get shot by the police one day out of all the thousands of days and nobody cared about you, oh my God, we need to protest. How could they do this to this young man that we never cared about before? What is toxic masculinity, just to ask? Well, it's another one of those nebulous terms. I would say that romance stuff is a product of that. It's not that they don't count men. There are just bigger stigmas surrounding them. Well, we'll just have to disagree. Let's not forget about those who you confide in about this problem. They'll say, "Oh, you must like guys, a straight man, a straight guy." Yeah, that makes sense. I tell you, I'll never forget about being on that self-help website because a lot of people on there were pretty nice, right? They would, if you talk to them about something, they would actually just think about it and try to give an answer that they thought about, put some thought into. Like, even if it didn't help, it was still someone trying to speculate in a way that wasn't just being a douchebag. And it's like this woman, you get told about a man who's like really frustrated over this chick stuff, and there all these times he tried, and your solution is that maybe he likes other men because that makes sense. Men who like other men try to approach women. That totally adds up. And then she got so surprised when I snapped. I was like, do you even write anything that makes sense ever? Talking about the testosterone. I'm like, yeah, bimbo, you're gonna accuse a man that has shown repeatedly attraction to women of being gay because of the decisions made by women. That's what that's like. It's almost analogous to when someone keeps applying for jobs and they don't ever hear anything back from the employers, and then they get accused of not wanting to work. It's like you're going to accuse this man of not wanting to work because people who control whether he gets a job or not are actively making it to where he can't work. Like, you see how insane that is? Like, we're going to accuse you of something that is antithetical to the steps you have taken to prevent it. I would snap at her as well. I didn't feel bad at all either. Because I've spoken to a lot of people about this that aren't affected by it, and no one is ever stupid enough to reach that conclusion. Your sexuality is determined by someone else's decision. Like I said, if a woman came online talking about how it was so hard to get a man to stay with her, nobody would call her a closet lesbian. You would see people criticize me and say, "Look at this great, attractive woman. What's wrong with these men?" Like I said, if you're a man, people just they don't care. They say whatever, they insult you all over the place. Just here we go. What do you mean? Even you admit that men have unrealistic expectations placed on them in dating. That is a product of toxic masculinity. Okay, I'm not suggest what I'm saying to you, and I don't know if you're talking to me or Brandon, but I'm saying that I've seen the phrase toxic masculinity used before, right, by women sometimes. And I don't really see the descriptions of it staying consistent among people. So some of them will say, "Oh, this is what other men do to other men," and then it's like I don't know specifically what it means. That's why I just said, define it whatever way you want. How is that? I thought I meant men being toxic. If anything, that's toxic femininity. Man, this chick stuff will drive. That's why I said drive any regular person nuts. I almost got 80 views on that first mobile adventures. Yeah, I really, if I ever get to a point, I just delete a whole bunch of stuff on my phone. I'm just going to record every match, and you're going to see 5 or 6 different examples of like why we lose. Like, you have people who one person gets put on the hook. There's 2 of them still left, right, that aren't on the hook. Both of them go to save that person, so nobody's doing the generator. And now all 3 of the remaining people are in the killer's grasp. Like, it's just that stuff like that really irritates me, because it's like, this is why you can't win a match. Because if you don't have people doing generators, then you're not progressing the match. You're literally prolonging it, and opening the possibility of the killer just getting everybody before you can finish them. That is, and then I mentioned before, there are some people who are so insane that while somebody's doing a generator, right, and it's sometimes our generators only one person can do because of where they're placed. Instead of going to do a generator as well, they will stand right behind you, just doing nothing. I'm like, what is wrong with you people? I did set that video a bit. I've got a few friends that actually play DVD and never seen the game properly before. It's a game that can be fun. It can be very aggravating depending on who you're playing with, and that's why I said when I play with people on my friends list, it really did spoil me because now when I play with random people, I just like here we go. Somebody's gonna do something insane. Yeah, I prefer the mobile version to the console version because the mobile one doesn't let you talk to anybody, so you can't be harassed by other players if you beat them or don't win or whatever. So because there are a lot of videos people have shown of where they're playing as killer, for example, and then they win, and then people are like, "Why did you tunnel me? Why did you do this?" Just nasty stuff. Now, mobile version doesn't let you talk to anybody, which I like in that instance because at least there's no harassment. The only thing people do in that game that annoy you is just teabagging, where they go to the exit gate to win the match, right? And they can't just leave, and then they go like this to try and like get you to hit them, even though there's no point in hitting them because they're just gonna go through and win the match. My favorite match ever. Where is it? Okay. Oh dear, the toxicity over online games can be very silly. Yeah, and it's like this is a game, man. Like when people want to get toxic over politics, right? I get it. That's like inherently, it's like people view politics like as their religion. But you turn a video game on where your objective is to kill four people in the match. You beat them, and then there's always like one or two that write nasty stuff to you. And sometimes the people writing that nasty stuff are so bad at the game they have to hack. Like I've played killer before and had hackers in my match where like um one of them came up to me, I hit them four times, they don't take any damage. Another one had it to where when you pick them up, they instantly recover. It's like a lot of people take that game very seriously. They're like just the idea of having to hack a game. And we're not even talking like sometimes if I hacked them, like let's say Pokemon, right? It's to get like all the starters, for example. We're not talking about that. They hack the game so that they can literally have a better chance of winning. And then sometimes they still lose. I'm using the proper academic term. Toxic masculinity simply refers to a set of societal expectations placed on men that affect them negatively. Oh yeah, well look, if you're going off of that one, the actual one, I agree. There are a lot of expectations of men that I don't think are. It's the same thing like the equality myth of oh yes, women want to be treated equally. That's why men have to do all these different things to appeal to them. So I agree with that. I never like teabagging personally. I don't do it even if I get a win in an online game. Brandon says, okay, and who placed those expectations? It was you. Well, if you want to leave a comment on one of those, I would appreciate it. Because I do intend to do those regularly if people like them. They're much easier to make than most of the other stuff I do. You just have to record 2 matches, stick an audio track on top of it. And Megumi, they have some killers that can knock you down in one hit. And some of the survivors are so stupid, they will screw with a killer that can knock them down in one hit. And then they get knocked And my favorite thing to do if you're playing as killer is that when they have the exit gate open, right? Instead of putting that last person you knock down on the hook, you knock the person down on the ground and you stand on top of them because now the person, if they want to get them up, they have to like stand on top of them longer than just getting them off the hook. And that makes it to where sometimes you can actually get 2 people down instead of 1. I agree with you that people use the word frivolously to point. It's the same thing with the I word. Like when I first heard about that word in 2017, right? I actually do think if I knew about that word and like the way people act toward men who can't get a woman, I probably would have never even made romance content. Like literally back in 2015 when I first made a video about this, nobody used that word online or and they still don't use it in real life. Um, but what I thought was really funny is that like first the word meant men who are in an online subculture that discuss this stuff have probably whatever, and then now it's shifted to oh man that can't get women. It's like can you pick a definition? So it's like everybody an I word at one point if they ever get rejected by a woman. Because remember, there's like two narratives. One is, oh, everybody gets rejected. It's just part of life. The other one is, if you can't get with someone, you're part of this team. So they don't even know the definition themselves. So sick of that word, man. I would if there was any word I could just delete from it would be two words, be the N word and the I word, because all they do is get used by people to be offensive, and you have some individuals that try to use them on each other, but it's always going to be offensive because we actually know what the true definitions of those words are. They're just not helpful. They're a waste of air to just utter them. I know the actual definition because I took a class in sociology and that's my oh. Hey, I remember when I was in still going to like college, I had this one Uber driver pick me up, and he said that every time he picks up a woman from this area that goes to college, he asked them what their major is, and then I said it's psychology, and he was like psychology. Like it's crazy how people say women are different from each other, and then not only are they all turning down men in like these large, excessive like things and wasting everybody's time, but then they also all are taking the same major in school. And remember, hey, if you saw the video, the why do women with boyfriends like talking to me? Um, one of the chicks in that video, when I was messaging her, I didn't show it in the video, but she said that psychology was an interest of hers. Like, oh my God. Man, people call you sexist if you say they're all the same, but it sure looks that way. They're looking really similar. We might as well just start calling these videos "Attack of the Clones" and put George Lucas's picture on the thumbnail. It's like all the chicks are actually very, very similar to each other in terms of like wasting people's time and all the rest of that stuff. And then like for the guys, they want us all to be stormtroopers. Everybody has to go to the gym. Everybody has to be a millionaire. Just no, you're never allowed to be who you want to be unless you have a girlfriend. Then it's okay to do what you want. But until then, you have to fit into this man's idea of what the perfect man is supposed to be. That's why when I did that how romance dehumanizes men video, I showed the Mary Sue thing where you're not allowed to have like they act like all of these women are perfect. Seriously, like they act as if every single chick that ever existed is just flawless. You could never criticize her for anything. Because when I have people who are saying, "Oh, the women you approach are probably out of your league," and I've never shown any of their pictures, then I know that as long as you don't end up with someone, they're just going to find a fatal flaw in you, no matter what it is. I definitely looking forward to a video about the fatal flaws of being a straight guy. Yeah, I wrote most of the script for that one. I just have to go back and wrap it up. Because it's that one and then the never-ending accidental pregnancy that I've been like sitting on. They're not though. No one acts exactly the same. We are simply observing a broader social trend. Right, but I'm saying that when you have people who are telling you that to just get a date with a woman, right? Not to get somebody to marry you, not to get somebody to make some lifelong commitment, to just get a date with the woman, you have to be a millionaire or have some excess of money. You also have to have this type of car and go have muscle. It's like who does this? Like I almost am tempted to just make a video showing every man I know that's ever had a longtime girlfriend or wife. None of them have muscles or are rich. Except this one guy that well, I don't know if he's rich, but he did have some chick that was like half his age trying. It's like, I don't want that. You're right. Everybody is different and acts different, but why do all women who are trying to marry expect a man to provide? That's what I'm saying. Women want to be treated equal. That's why you have to do all this stuff to appeal to them. Do they have to do anything to appeal to you? Oh no, they just have the triangle. That's the appeal. Flip it on its head. Who will say this? Who will say this? Same crazy expectations to women. Like I said, if I made a video where I said, "Hello, random women. If you want to get a date with me, you're gonna have to go to the gym and be a panther and search for prey." All that stupid stuff that guy wrote. And you're also gonna have to be a millionaire, even though most people are not. And you're gonna have a college degree and a financial balance. It's like I would get laughed at. That video would get a bunch of views from how ridiculous it is, and I'd be a meme. Like, but that's why I said when people actually write that stuff expecting you to do it, it just it's really disturbing. And like I said, the other elephant in the room is that none of these guys ever show proof they did any of this stuff themselves. Because I know content creators on here who have girlfriends and wives. I've never seen a single one of them show up on any of these videos. Because if you have a girlfriend or wife, there's no reason why you should be watching these type of videos. Doesn't make any sense. I'm gonna get a date and I'm gonna become a romance prophet and scour the net for people that are having a hard time with it. That is insane. Because society has told men that they must be providers and women must be care. What are they taking care of? Dude, the dingbat with the baby, the guy that she's with, he couldn't even get her to clean the house. She does nothing. Every single financial transaction that took place over that 6-7 year relationship they had is him paying for something for her. She actually thinks if she buys him a shirt at the market, that's like equivalent to him spending hundreds, possibly thousands of dollars on a storage unit for her to keep her stuff in. Most of the time, their own experiences contradict their advice. Yeah, remember the guy that told me about being very young and you have to wait for it? It's like, so you've been married 3 times. You really gonna sit here and tell me about the magic broad? Really? The woman that was saying wait 5, 10, 15 years before you complain about how difficult it is to get just a date. It's like this bimbo had 2 guys ask her to marry her before she was 21. It's like, these people, it's so weird. They expect you to like keep putting up with this trash. I guess just because they think you're supposed to be like a woman slave. Like, oh, just wait for random woman to like you back. You can rely on one person's income if you want to have a family, so women need to provide too. I'm about to say, I know you aren't saying what. Yeah, okay, you corrected. I was like, huh? Again, I think it's really insane that people actually believe this stuff. Because it's funny. It's like there's a mixture of women wanting like more rights, but then also wanting this like 50s, 60s mindset of being the caretaker and the man doing all this. It's like no, you don't get to have it both ways. You don't get to be the person who wants to be treated equal and then the person I'm supposed to do all this stuff to appeal to. Like it just doesn't work that way. They're trying to get it to work that way, but it isn't working. That's why they keep rejecting all these men they talk to. I'm getting so just like to such a point where I'm gonna start making parody songs, like a parody song of chicks, a parody song of these guys that come on my stuff and write all this weird crap. I'm very tempted to start making those. I'm not gonna have any music because I'm not a musician. I was gonna have a voice. And also remember, the same chicks you're providing for will be the same ones who divorce you most of the. Yeah. Well, see, again, it goes against the Disneyland fairy tale ending of like, oh, here's this man that got rejected year after year, and then one day the magic woman showed up that liked him back, and they lived happily ever after. Never happens. Realistically, a relationship is a two-way street. Same applies to marriage and a family. Every marriage I've seen that lasted actually had both people working. Like my grandpa retired when I was 2, and my grandma had the same job for 50 years. So I don't know where this idea, like, even people who were from the era of the woman stays home didn't even they didn't even do that. I don't know. I just don't believe in like in love and the rest of that. It's because the stuff people say contradicts that. Oh, a woman will like you for who you are. That's why you have to become a millionaire so she can like you for who you are. Women don't care about looks as much as men. That's why you have to go. Dude, I think it's really funny though. It's really not hard to just be like skinny, like not in shape, but just skinny, like you just don't eat that much, right? It's much harder to, how do I explain it? If it is true that the only way to get a woman or multiple women to like you is to be muscular or have muscles or go whatever, then by definition, women are more shallow than men because I don't know any man that is actually expecting a woman to have muscles to like go on a date with him. I've never seen that. You see what I'm saying? Of how like by the very things they talk about, that means that men are actually more interested in women for who they are than the other way around. I agree they scream about patriarchy and toxic masculinity, but continue to perpetuate the same stigmas that affect men negatively. It's just hypocrisy. Well, I told you, man. All this chick stuff is just people finding a way to hang you. Like you saw the bimbo in the video say, or rather, she typed, "I believe if you would prematurely cut off a woman that liked you." I was like, what does that even mean? No explanation. You're supposed to talk to a woman that doesn't like you back forever, or else it's premature. Here's this woman I've been talking to for 3 years that doesn't like me back, but I have to keep talking to her, else I'll be blamed for why it didn't work out. Dude, these people, you know what? This my friend said it right. He said they want you to be the Naruto to women's Sasuke. I know you, Megumi, you're apparently like not a fan of Naruto, but for part one ends with Sasuke abandoning the village and Naruto swears I'll get him back, and then like part two is a lot of its plot is trying to get Sasuke back. So you're not allowed to just move on from a woman. You have to like keep making all of these efforts and never give up. So you're supposed to be the Naruto to women's Sasuke. I'm gonna keep trying. Believe it. Oh, I just thought that comparison was so funny. Again, if anybody else gets that comparison, let me know. I thought that was funny. You're supposed to be the Naruto to women's Sasuke. You can never leave them alone. You can never give up. You have to just keep trying over and over. Got to keep rebooting while they get to progress and move on with the sequels. Yeah, you got to keep talking to a new broad who's just going to do the same thing as the other broad, except maybe waste a little bit more or less of your time. And then she gets to have, some guy that bangs her, and then they get like a pseudo relationship with a kid. And then, even if she breaks up with that guy, she's going to meet another guy that'll take her in an instant. I just think something's wrong with that. Like, I look at that one broad I mentioned in the stream, not the video, on the accidental pregnancies. I didn't title it that, but you might remember what I'm talking about. It's like this broad was not even 30, and she had a kid with the man who was not her husband, who was her boyfriend. And then she goes and has another kid with the guy who's not her husband. And it's like, if I had a kid, right, hypothetically, and I was trying to get in a relationship with a woman, people would say a woman doesn't want to take care of somebody else's kid. So it's like, even a woman who has the baggage of a child that its own parent didn't want it, it's like you still end up having a harder time attracting somebody than they do. Like that's why I said it feels like women have no handicap that puts them in a position worse off than a man. Like, I believe I could be a millionaire and I would still have a harder time getting a date than a broad that has a kid and doesn't have a pot to piss in. And again, it's not because the chicks are inherently better, it's just because men don't have options. They'll take anything. Yeah, you gotta keep rebooting. Hey, talking. This guy said talking to chicks is taking one step forward, one step back. You stay in the same spot while the broad gets to keep going down the stairs or up the stairs. Like 10 years later, oh, I'm still talking to woman 400. Oh, you've had 2 marriages and 5 kids. Oh, wow. It must be really nice to not have to be told to do 90 things to get somebody to go on a date. Nah, they're really nuts. Yeah, that reality is disturbingly accurate. And people think this makes sense. Like you have, it's really funny to watch these chicks, right? Like, that I guess in real life when they talk about things that affect them, like, oh, this guy that I had the kid with doesn't want to take care of this kid. It's like, well, no, duh, dingbat. Why do you think he wasn't married to you before you had it? Like, you trapped him with this kid to take his money, and then you're surprised that he hates you. You're surprised that you're despised. But people, expect you to keep participating in a system that is designed to be as unfair to you as possible. That's why I said the chick stuff to me just seems like a parody of itself at this point. Like, oh, here's a random woman. Oh, maybe she'll like you back. Oh, what's that? The last 200 times didn't work. Oh, don't worry. This time it will. Trust us. Because I tell you, the main people who gas you up with that crap never had to deal with this. I'll say it again. I talked to my dad. I talked to my grandpa. My best friend talked to his dad, his grandpa. Everybody said the same thing. Never had to talk to more than maybe 5 or 10 chicks to get a date. They don't remember there being any like whole groups of guys that were talking about how hard it was to get a date. But they're gonna sit here and lie to me and tell me, oh, it's all the same as it's always been. Or it's somehow is better than there's actually a guy, he's 40 plus, right? He's married with like 2 kids. He has 3 kids, but it's the older one is with another woman. He actually said it's easier than it's ever been to get a date because now you just have to go on an app. Like he completely cuts out the parts where you might have 15, 30, in one case, 50 men talking to one woman. He just that doesn't even, he really believes that all these people just sign on this app. They see someone, right? And it's like, oh yeah, let's go on a date. They completely cut out the competition. Because again, that stuff, those external factors hurt the facade of, oh, it's simple to get a date, just do these things. It doesn't always happen that way though. Sometimes that kid genuinely belongs to the father and they just bail because they're avoiding responsibility. Listen, this is my thing, okay? When I have proof that there are couples who admit they won't use condoms because they don't like the way it feels or that they stop using them after 1 or 2 months, I know that these kids are not being born to parents who actually want to have a family. They're just a bunch of selfish douchebags. The man and the woman. But the woman's even worse because, like I said, she gets the pick of the litter. If a woman wants to get married, she can do it in a heartbeat. She can just go up to some random man. They can date for like 2 weeks. You can go, hey, can we get married? And he'll say yes to keep her. Like they have all the power. And when they get put in these situations with men that are um, screwed up, I don't feel bad for them because they do it to themselves. Okay, but was there any red flags before the mother had the kid? Well, if you're talking about the dingbat, yeah, we mentioned the storage unit thing, the cheating, the cursing out over the phone. There were plenty of signs. But again, in his desperation, he put up with all of it. And to this day, he's still paying the price, and he will be paying the price for the next, 16 years? And you, as a single guy who's never been in one before, doesn't even get, yeah, does remember you, women don't owe you anything. That's the little thing they like to say. But you owe them all this effort so that one of them may possibly go on a date with you. Funny how that works. Did you see the Gemini goof from the self improvement video talking about no one owes anyone anything, and just because a woman says this stuff, she doesn't have to spend the rest of her life with you, even though nobody actually said that in the video. I love how they feel so like smart responding to assertions that the person they're responding to didn't even make. Like imagine if I'm arguing with Brandon, and Brandon says, I think McDonald's is better than Burger King. And I go, just because you eat at McDonald's doesn't mean you get to say that El Pollo Loco is worse than Burger. You're like, I never said that. But I say it so convinced as if you did that it's like, I think I'm winning an argument that you didn't even make. I don't care. He decided to lay down with her, and this is the consequence of that, just as it was her choice to get pregnant by him. Don't blame the child for no, never do I blame the kid. Don't, let's not misrepresent my comments. I'm simply saying that there is something inherently screwed up when a woman won't get blamed for having a kid she knew she couldn't afford when she got knocked up by a guy. But I'll get blamed if a woman doesn't like me back enough to go on a date. Which again is so much, like I said before, getting rejected for a date is infinitely less consequential than popping out a kid. Like nobody's going to go hungry because I didn't go on a date. Nobody is going to not be able to go to school because I didn't go on a date. It's like, that's my point, that there's so much commentary and nastiness directed at me because someone said no to advancing a romantic relationship that, based off how most of these go, isn't even going to be anything usually. But then if someone pops out a kid, one of the most consequential things you can ever do, create more life, because they have a triangle between their legs, nobody blames them. You don't see any of the amount of harassment that a man will get for getting rejected that a woman will receive in the case of having kids she can't afford. So they chose who to sleep with. The fault is on both. Yeah. But I only see one side being gone after usually. I'm mostly referring to the mother who used the kid as a trap. They do. You can't force a woman to, yeah. That's why I called it disproportionate retribution. There's so much, like I wish I could see Nia Zine or Tony or one of these other people get mad at the woman who has a kid she can't afford, I guess since they don't post videos, it's okay to do that. They get an absurd amount of sympathy from random people online, especially. Like I said, if a woman came on here and said, "Oh, men won't date me. This sucks." Like if all she says is, "I really want to date because I want to have a family," this suck. People would have sympathy for her in an instant. They would say, "What's wrong with these men? This beautiful woman you guys are treating so poorly and not reciprocating the interest of. There's something wrong with these guys." But like I said, when something happens to a man, nobody cares. An absurd amount of sympathy. I said, people just are very weird to me. They do things I don't understand. I never will understand. This guy was like, "Why aren't you happy that you got 100 new subscribers less?" And I was like, "Well, if they don't watch, what's the point?" Like, I would rather have 2,000 subs, right, with 1,000 views a video, than 10,000 subs with 5 views a video. Because I would actually, that means like a good half of my audience watches everything I do. So that's just the way I feel about it. Subscribers after 1,000 really aren't that, like, they don't really mean anything. Let's see what else is here. I'm only slightly sympathetic toward the guy because I do understand what it's like to be scared that if you don't do everything this woman wants you to do, then no one will ever like you back. That you feel like you have to put up with someone that pisses you off over and over. because you'll never get anybody else to like you back. That's the only thing I was sympathetic to. Him having a kid, no, I'm not, because I know that that's just two people who are horny and who don't like wearing rubber, and that's why this child was born. Like that's why I said my sympathy only extends so far. Redwood City. I don't even know anybody from over there. But I also don't think men should be allowed to just bail out on a child because they brought it into this world. Well, like I said, I'm not in the business of just banging people that I'm not interested in having a family with. But like I said, I understand his motivations to an extent. I can certainly relate to that too, and will be sympathetic to that as well. Yeah, I'm just saying that if you want to get mad at this guy, right, and put him on child support, it's like okay, but the public shaming. I don't see people doing that to women who have kids they can't afford. Like people write so much nasty stuff about me for making a video criticizing chicks, right? But they won't have a single thing to say about a woman that has a kid that she knows from the moment she finds out from that pregnancy test is in her stomach that she can't afford. You're right. There's consequence to that as well. It's called child support and alimony. I don't know. I don't see any men putting women on child support. It's usually always the woman doing that to the man. But that's why I said that I do believe that there is a lot of merit to the argument of only fornicating in marriage, because I don't know any married couple where the man or the woman puts her husband on child support. Like it's always these people who were like boyfriend and girlfriend that do that stuff to each other. I don't know. I just think people have a very weird problem with committing. That's the best way to put it. Because the way I wanted it to go, right, was that you would be married to this person for like, let's say a year, right? Um, Maybe 2 years, and then you would have a kid. Because then you would have spent some significant amount of time with them, living, day in and day out, and trying to understand them and be sympathetic to them, and also get what stuff you maybe don't like, but tolerate because you do genuinely care about this person. And then after that, you can try and have a family and see how that if that does anything to the dynamic. And even if you divorce that person, right? Let's say at some other later point, you still made more of an effort to be committed to them than most of these bastards do. Like I have proof that there are larger numbers of people having children out of wedlock. It's a problem of committing on both sides. Yeah, that's why I said both are at fault when it comes to screwing and having a family. Yeah, like every time I see a new kid being born in real life, it is always an accident. It was always, oh, it's never this woman I married a year ago. We decided we're gonna have a family. Something that actually looks like a stable environment. It's just, yeah, my girlfriend came over my house and we didn't feel like wearing rubber, and then all of a sudden, 9 months later, this thing hatches out. And it really isn't funny because it is screwing up people's lives. But I'm sitting here like, wow, this is. I would rather be single than have a kid with someone that's not my wife. I'll put it that way. Like I don't need to be put on child support. I don't need to have some vampire trying to get my money. I don't I don't need it. It sucks too because there are women that actually will help a man. Like I've seen chicks before who, like, let's say they have a boyfriend or something who is, I don't know, maybe unemployed, got fired, whatever. They'll let him live there for free. You know, there is a very tiny, small percentage of chicks that actually care about a man, like toward they're not asking him for money and they actually do something that's helpful to for him. The rest of that, the rest of their help, like from most of them, is just flapping their gums and trying to extract something out of you. No such thing as family planning, dude. Not anymore, anyways. You don't think that's sad that like the only reason the human race continues from what you've seen in your lifetime is just people screwing indiscriminately. Like the only reason anybody has a kid anymore is just I decided to not wear rubber today, and then I looked on my thing and I saw a little plus. Oops. And there's this one, so that the one I mentioned that had the kid with the guy that was her boyfriend, then the second guy that she dated that she ended up having a kid with him too. What's that song called? Oops, I did it again. Like she literally did not learn her lesson. There is no difference in terms of her maturity from when she was 21 to being almost 30. There's nothing. It's the same mistake several years later. God, these people, and that's why I said it drives me crazy that you have these individuals who spend so much time like writing paragraphs about me, and then people who are actually ruining other people's lives, wordless, speechless. That's why I really don't like computer clowns. They act like stuff that you do on the internet, and we're not even talking about like actually like if let's say I was going to women's pages and writing nasty like harassment, right? You just make a video criticizing these people. You don't show their names. You direct no ill will directly toward these individuals outside of talking about why what they did with you was frustrating while concealing their identities. And somehow you can get more pushback on that than a broad that has a kid who she has destroyed the life of before it even began. I think this is nuts. And it's like, it's just more proof that we might as well just start calling this the Twilight Zone. I would have less people screwing with me if I drove right now into like let's say I don't know whatever people consider to be the hood, bang some random broad, and then oh look at our we're gonna have a kid. I would have less people mess with me over that. Who cares if we can afford it? Who cares if you're gonna put me on child support? Who cares? Just as long as you're not a single man, we're not gonna harass you. So I said people online love selling the Disneyland fairy tale fantasy stuff with chicks. They love it. Yeah, that was always surprising to me. In the grand scheme of things, you're the one who gets criticized the most merely for discussing this problem. Well, that's why they have to say, I believe you're going to do this to a woman, you're going to do that, you're going to do this, because the stuff you're actually doing is largely inoffensive. It's like I actually have seen cases where a man will do like molest a woman or something like it's like, you know, I wouldn't do something like that because I don't care enough about getting screwed to, make try to force somebody to do it, right? And then it's like, that's my point that none of that violent stuff makes any sense for me to do because the purpose of getting with someone was a person that actually likes you for who you are. So even if you do get screwed by that means, it's still not someone that actually likes you for who you are. It's someone you're forcing to do something to. And that's why I really despise a lot of these bastards on the computer because when they do that I word group, that's them trying to oversimplify it. They want to believe that everyone that doesn't get a date, oh, they have all these fatal flaws and he just did this and there's something wrong with it because they don't want to accept the idea that you can just be a normal person that wanted to have a family or maybe just wanted to be married, have a girlfriend, whatever. And it didn't work out, no matter how hard you tried. Because again, they want to believe in the Disneyland fairy tale and the just world fallacy. Yeah, I would take no joy in forcing someone to screw me. It's like what, you know, how is that forwarding what I wanted at all? Oh, look, here's this person who is being made to do something they don't want to do. Like I said, all this nasty stuff to write about me, you won't see one bad word written about any of these chicks that have kids they can't afford. And again, there are some chicks that recognize their error. There are some that have a kid with a guy that they weren't married to. Guess what? They never have another one. But that broad I told you about, the one that had two with two boyfriends, that's her lifestyle. Do these guys listen to women's advice? I've seen some of their advice, and it's really it's just as bad. Like I think a lot of guys write that stuff just to be douchebags. I think a lot of the chicks write that stuff because they genuinely have never experienced not being wanted for like years, you know? That's why like I believe they're like soft core trolls is what they are. Very few and in between though. Well, that was what I was saying, Megumi, that there are a few that will recognize their error, but the rest of them, they just double down on the stupid stuff. And guys, like, always remember this: to get married, right? Just have to go to a courthouse, pay a fine or whatever the price is. It's sometimes $100. It varies place to place, from what I heard. And then you're married to that person. It takes less than one day to get married. To have a kid, you have to, in most cases, screw someone over and over again, then wait 9 months. Like in any way you stretch it, getting married financially and the amount of time it takes to do it is cheaper than having a kid. And yet I'm seeing an upspike in these bastard children than I am in people getting married. Like you don't think there's something wrong with the idea that something that is much easier to do gets sidestepped for something that's harder to do and has a higher chance of screwing over both the people involved, or all three of the people involved if you count the kid as well. No one sees anything wrong with that. Because remember, these pricks online love to sell you this idea. See, I'm gonna keep claiming this. I think chicks, maybe for the most part, at least half the time, are not that smart, right? As far as like with the decisions they make romantically. Like I believe they make a lot of dumb decisions. And I think the data reflects it. Who the hell wants to have a kid that they have to raise by themselves and they have to put the other person who made it with them on child support? And it's like a lot of them actually believe in the fantasy of, oh, we'll just be boyfriend and girlfriend, and then we'll have this baby, and then we'll live happily ever after. And that never happens. The guy goes to somebody else, and then she has to put him on the thing. I believe they don't make good decisions romantically. Why else would you see this upspike in bastard children? They like the thrill of screwing, I guess. They'd rather do that instead of deciding to get married to their partner. I think the men are not actually committed to these chicks, and I think the chicks are really dumb. Like as far as I've seen them, and we've mentioned this before, admit on YouTube videos they don't like wearing condoms because of the way it feels. They will risk bringing another life into this world because they don't like the way it feels to protect themselves during intercourse. If people want to just screw, date casually, it's not that hard. No, there are chicks that don't want children that will actually take preventative measures to not get knocked up. Like it is very easy to not have a kid. Hold on, I'm getting called by somebody. Give me a second. Okay. And of course, birth control pills is an option too. Guys, like I said, there's 900 different ways to not get knocked up. Birth control pills, condoms, not screwing. I think is really funny, right? All this stuff shows how it doesn't connect. Like, oh, men only want sex. Why do all these kids get born then? If it's only men that want to get screwed, why are all these kids being born out of wedlock? Evidently, women want to get screwed too, right? Think about that. Men are the shallow people who only care about the way a woman looks, and they just want to, get in bed with her. But then why does wouldn't we see like less kids being born if women didn't care about getting screwed? Like you see how again it doesn't connect. The cat is out of the bag now. Listen, I'm telling you, people like to sell this idea. See, people like to pretend men are like dumb. So they like to pretend in this idea that magic woman shows up and you live happily ever after. But there are men that have been cheated on by women. There are men that have had all their money taken by women. There are men that have been put on child support by women. Like I don't. It's really scary what they try to sell to you and then what actually happens. Of course, women like to screw. They just don't want to admit they have sexual desire. Yeah, that's why VVS said these chicks try to sound like nuns. They're like, these men want to do something with me that's improper. It's like, evidently you do too. Newsflash, chicks evidently would like to screw in most of these scenarios as well. I could really see that on like CNN. Breaking news: women like to bang. Like I said, I don't believe in chicks anymore. I really don't. I think they're a bunch of liars. I think even if they approach you, they still don't know what they want, which is why you saw the one in May do the most ridiculous thing ever. Ask somebody on a date, and then when they say yes, you start backtracking. Of course, they have desire, but it's kept on the down low. Shh, be very, very quiet. But I'll tell you, if you listen to the way people describe women, it doesn't even sound real. Like they really sound like some kind of Disney fairy tale. Like, oh, it's okay that you got rejected by them over and over again because one day Magic Woman will show up and so she'll be so perfect and beautiful and she'll make you forget about all those other chicks that turned you down repeatedly and wasted your time. But remember, it's only men that like screwing. That's why we have all these children born out of wedlock occurring because it's only the man that likes to screw. Women actually want a partner who they care about as a person. That's why you have to go to the gym and own a bunch of money so that one of them will give you the time of day because stuff like that actually shows she cares about you as a person. So this is like a cartoon. They can't get any of their stuff straight. That's why I like to edit videos because you get to take all the stuff they've written, right? And just put it on the screen and just show like how it doesn't mesh with this other thing. Like remember how Gemini Goof was like, uh, you judge women very harshly over every little thing. It's like, so the people who come on my video and try to criticize me for what I wear, how I speak, yeah, they're not judging me very harshly on every little thing, okay? We were able to make a literal whole video showing all the nasty stuff they were saying to me, but I'm not the one being judged very harshly over every little thing. I have personally never seen a woman say she could never find someone or a boyfriend. Just me neither, man. Like when I was in grade school, right? There was a chick that was really tall, very obnoxious, to where other chicks didn't like her, and a lot of the male students didn't like her. And guess what she had? A boyfriend. And it was the same thing when I was in 9th, 10th, 11th grade. I saw maybe like I had maybe 30, 40 male classmates. I saw like 3 of them actually date anybody. That's why I said it's like, I wish people would stop pretending like it's just this tiny group of guys that aren't able to get, it's a whole bunch of us. Why do you think the video with 200,000 views got how many thousands of likes? People know it's ridiculous. And they're gonna try to lump you in this category. Man, when in real life, every time I saw 2 guys talk about chicks, they spoke the same way. They would talk about, man, I asked her to do this and she was doing it. And even if they were able to become boyfriend or girlfriend with the broad, they would still talk about how stupid she was. Like only online do you get this weird thing where now you're not allowed to criticize chicks for anything. It's so weird. I know I'm just talking about the women who are single. Well, I think they're single because they choose to be, not because they're unable to find a partner. That's why I said they get the choice. You don't. It really is like scary how many men are affected by this that just won't say anything, and how people like actually try to convince you, oh yeah, it's just you and a few other people. Yes, this out of choice if they are single. That's why I said like it sounds defeatist as some people call it. But it's like, what's the point of talking to a woman who is either single because she doesn't want to be with any man, right, or most men or whatever, or is talking to so many other guys that you can't even make any impression because of all this other competition. Like, I just don't see any good that comes out of doing really anything with them. Like who wants to get led on forever and ever? Nah, man, that's always the thing I worry about. Like, if you talk to a broad now, you're like, is she single because she hasn't found anyone, or she broke up with someone, or is she single because she doesn't want to be with anyone? Nobody ever wants to throw that in there. This ad start playing on my phone. What makes you think she'll break your cell? Oh, what makes you think she'll break your celibacy to get with you and not the other 20 plus guys? Yeah, but that's why I said those people that do those romance videos never want to show any example or instance of like a whole bunch of men going after one chick. They never, because they always want to make it your fault. So acknowledging external factors is not, suitable for their narrative. I don't know, man. I just need to know. Oh, you just need to know what category you're in. Well, like I said, even if a broad's talking to a whole bunch of other men, usually she won't tell you. I mean, you know that. Like, very few of them actually will mention, "Oh, I had 20 other men send me a message." And remember, if one of them on the computer doesn't show her face, there's a whole bunch of men trying to talk to her. Imagine how many men try to talk to one in real life that shows her face by, happenstance. So I said this chick stuff is just a really depressing, never-ending saga of people using what was supposed to be a thing that was enjoyable, like getting with someone and liking to be with them and spend time with them and enjoy interacting with this person, to now being this like very miserable thing of, we're going to use women to attack you with. Oh, you have all these flaws. Oh, you are this. It's like I don't need that. They really took chicks and turned them into ammo for them to harass you on the internet over. So you get your time wasted with chicks and you get attacked by other men. That's how that works. The chicks waste your time and the men attack you from with everything but a dime. I just think that's so screwed up. Like, there is nothing good that comes out of like doing stuff with chicks ever. More often than not, anyway. Harassment by other men, time wasted by chicks. Oh, do you remember? So there's this new Marvel show called What If, and I was thinking of making a video called like What If I Never Made Any Romance Content, because I like that stupid thing that Broad said was like really crazy to me. Like, oh, if you didn't make any of this stuff, it wouldn't have. I was like, Bimbo, I didn't do a romance video for like 4 years of getting rejected by chicks, and it was still the same result. And most of them that I met are on places like Reddit and these other sites that have nothing to do with YouTube at all. Like I can literally count the number of chicks I met through doing this type of content on one hand. So it would have all like maybe it wouldn't be as much harassment because they don't tend to harass like random guys much to do with people that make content on this stuff, but it would still be the same result. I'm very sure of that because enough time passed for me to see, yeah, this is not changing, and then they just keep acting, insane. Like I had this one broad, she saw my video and she was like, "I can't believe you would say this about me, especially because I never led you to." It was like, yeah, so there was no difference in making a video on you because you already said you weren't interested. So yeah, the video, it don't matter. You get why that's ironic. It's like, oh, that's an example of the video messing up your relationship with a woman, but the woman already said she didn't like you back anyway. So what difference did it make? Yeah, I agree with you. It doesn't benefit you in any way to keep putting up with this stuff and being on this romance Ferris wheel. And we got to do um, the Never Ending Accidental Pregnancy, the romance comic book, the like, what if I never made any of these type of videos video, and then the like, why being a straight man is a bad thing video. Keep wasting your time to constantly reboot constantly while they make progress, you being stuck at square/level 1 for eternity. Dude, it's like people expect you to just put up with this forever. And like I said, no matter what happens, if you don't get with someone, it's always your fault. Because you're being judged by the kangaroo court of opinion. To hell with evidence, to hell with she might have told him, to hell with how much she led him on. If she doesn't like you back, it's always your fault. So I said, I just want to draw a picture of myself on a cross at this point. Because there's too much crucifixion going on for something that really doesn't make too much sense. No, they'll attack you over everything. That's why we were able to do that video. I've been criticized for everything. I really just sat back. I was like, they have really attacked me for anything I can think of. It's like, wow. They attack you for stuff you didn't even do. You're probably gonna do this, like, but I didn't. So that comment was one of my favorite comments ever. Women watching this will be reluctant to like they weren't saying anything to begin with, so I didn't lose nothing. If they weren't off put by the romance content, they would be off put by something else. Like you really think if you wanted to date a woman, right? Just a woman. Let's say it's a woman you find physically attractive, you think she's pretty, whatever. You really think because she makes a video talking about how stupid men are, you're gonna be like, oh, I'll never talk to her. No, if you think she's hot, you don't care. You get why that's ridiculous? Like, there really is nothing a woman can do that would just make it to where no man would ever want to be with her. Like we even went over that was it Susan Smith, that chick that drowned both of her kids, and then we found out the guards in prison were trying to bang her. It's like, don't sit here and tell me about people's morality. Don't just get out of here with that. I'd sooner believe in the Easter Bunny than the idea that either gender has these like universal standards. Like Hitler can get a woman, but you can't get one, and you're supposed to believe that somehow the flaws you have are more off-putting than a person whose conflict led to deaths of millions of people. And then that bimbo was like, "Oh, you're cherry picking." It's like, no, if I can show proof that people who have done objectionably worse things than me still end up with a woman, don't sit up here and try to analyze me like you're actually going to find something that's so off-putting. They are nuts. I'm just over here scrolling on my TV. Ugh. I've been analyzing you, and I can tell now that you have qualities that are off-putting to women. It's like, yeah, so does every damn body. That's why they have whole groups about this. Let's see, where did? Oh, I guess Akatsuki merchant went to sleep. No, that guy was like, "Oh, you always talk about the chick stuff." I'm like, "You're surprised that if I do a stream, that I would discuss something that the majority of people that show up regularly on the streams find interesting. How dare you cater to your audience?" Dude, imagine going to Comic Con. It's about like comics and just entertainment, relating to superheroes, and they start talking about Barbie. It's like, what do you expect them to do? That's why I said people on this site are just, they don't know what they're talking about. Yeah, my chat died. I have to do was it going to be The Exorcist? I mean, whatever. We pretty much discussed everything that needed to, be talked about. That broad stuff, man. It's such a shame because there was a real chance to have an actual productive dialogue about this topic, and these guys, they just ruined it. Like, you do a stream where you discuss in a nuanced manner, and then you have someone talking about, we're upset that we can't get through. It's like, no, that is very little to do with what we're actually saying. But again, they don't want to have a civilized discussion. They just want to, name call and lump you in a box with people you don't have anything to do with. People have so many just like little narratives they form. But seriously, the internet is the first place I've seen where like you just couldn't criticize women ever. Like in real life, I saw people get criticized all the time. Like I would see two guys get together and just talk about how crazy some broad was. You can discuss this in any way possible, no matter how civilized you are about it. Yeah, they'll attack you no matter how. Because if you remember the one with the 200,000 views, where I got the most like pushback as just by virtue of how many views were on it, I was very nice. Like I didn't call anybody out their name. I didn't say people were stupid because they wouldn't go on a date with me. I was very civil, you know. And it's like you can't expect me to keep being, I guess, nice as I'm being attacked. It just doesn't work that way. But that video is a really good example because it avoided. See, people like to use like rage and anger as like these off-putting things. Well, that's why the comment section is turned off. But they like to use rage and anger as these like off-putting things. But even when you just express an opinion in this really civilized manner, you get attacked over it. Which, like I said, it's fine, but then don't try to tell somebody how to respond to this hate that you're pushing toward them. Because a lot of them do get offended at having their screenshot, like their comment made fun of or like screenshotted. But it's like, you don't get to come on here and attack somebody and then control how they respond. Just like if I do a video about why I think Biden is a bad politician, not even just president, just bad politician. And then he says, "All right, let's stop this briefing. I'm going to talk about this YouTuber," and then puts up my video and like responds to it. I can't go, "Oh, how could he do this to me? I'm just a small YouTuber." It's like, no, you attack this person first, and now they're responding to it. Yeah, they had a whole bunch of hatred. That's one of the few videos I turn the comments. So I'm gonna do that with that hooker one too, because they don't want to believe a normal guy contributing in society have this constant problem for so long with so many chicks. It's a hard reality to take in. Right, you have to fit their stereotype. So that's why I said, like, and I don't try to toot my own horn, but the reason they come on here and keep repeating this lie of you need to stop talking about women so much, like because they're used to going to these other channels where all they do is talk about chicks. It really hurts them that we talk about the news, about some comic book stuff here and there, Dragon Ball, and now the DVD stuff, because it's like going against this idea that you can't just be a normal person with interests that are similar to other people and have this issue. It was the same thing with my best friend. He had a job, goes to school, getting ready to graduate from college, still has the same issue as me, and has had the same issue for just as long, if not maybe not just as long because he's a year younger. But it's like you get the idea that it's the same thing affects men. It's an issue that keeps going and happening and repeating itself. I even had one brother who's like, "I'm sorry that California has so many guards." Like, yeah, if you believe that this state hasn't been a factor when we've shown as we've gone online and talked to chicks who are even from other countries that it's still the same result. I don't know what else to tell you. But that's why I said they want you to be the antagonist and like actually go out and do something violent to women because it suits the narrative and the idea that you could just be this person that tries to be productive. Um, really clashes with that perspective. Yeah, and a lot of guys are affected by this. Just most of them don't voice or make it known that they are. And they always try to have these pushbacks that don't actually address what you're saying. I mentioned on Discord I had a group of people try to say I was selfish for not wanting to talk to women anymore, but they could never explain why I should keep talking to a group of people who have shown they are not interested in doing anything with me besides wasting my time. And like I said, I get pushback on my beliefs and I stand by them because very seldom are people actually addressing the merits of what is being said. They're just getting into these like, nebulous discussions. Oh, this person is this because this is happening. It's like, oh, are they incorrect? Sure they are, but I can't actually address what they're saying. It's the only community I've ever seen where they just can't address what's actually being discussed. You go in the political community and you bring up an argument, they'll address it. You go in the Dragon Ball community, they'll address it. Only one where all they do is talk about the way somebody looks or use some random term that means nothing. Guy, you saw girls talking about get the monkey off your back. Like what? It's really scary that you just can't have people talk about something in a civilized manner where they logically explain why they don't agree with what you're saying. It's just always personal attacks and um, the rest of this trash. I don't see how it's productive either. Which is why I said that when these people get banned, right? They're not getting banned because they made some argument I couldn't counter. Like what am I supposed to say to someone who, in response to arguments, says, "Oh, I think you're ugly," or "Oh, why are you wearing this?" It's like what? Who is benefited by that? Why shouldn't you be Thanos snapped? Like you're not doing anything productive. You're not saying anything worthwhile. It's just worthless talk. And like I said, the way you know it's screwed up is if you flip the genders. Woman makes a video about men being ridiculous, and I go on her video talking about you're ugly. Or why do you always wear this? I would get blocked because I'm not addressing what she's saying. Besides, just because you men in a relationship doesn't mean they're happy. But that was the point I made earlier that like that guy has been with that woman for 7 years, lost a whole bunch of money, has a kid he can't afford, and has a broad who won't do a single thing to help him take care of the kid, including cleaning the house. So it's like what good is coming out of that? And then that's why I don't like people like, Triple L, because they sat there and they perpetuated this, the fairy tale. Oh, magic woman will show up and like you so much back. But, you know, um, stuff like that, just none of it's helpful is the way to put it. You're supposed to take in what they have to say because you're a content creator. If you block them, you're gonna ban. Yeah, my free speech. Because we all know if you get blocked on one person's channel on YouTube, you might as well be blocking the entire website. You can't watch their videos anymore. You can't watch and comment on other people's stuff. You can't make your own video. When Wikipedia, when that guy deleted my comment on his page, guess what I did? I put it on my page. And then after they were treating me like, I didn't get, like they didn't stop me from being able to talk on there, but they made me upset. So I made a video about it. Just like with the, remember the guy that was running away from me for 3 months? You remember the one that I did the video was like sets the lying world record? When he made it to where I couldn't speak to him, guess what I did? Made a video. When that broad, the one that tried to control me, just abruptly stopped responding for the 3rd time, because she does this, she in the past has done this where she ghosts you until you just get sick of it and unfriend her. When wouldn't let me say what I want to say to her, guess what I did? Made a video about her. Like you don't have to be able to speak to that person to address the things they're saying or talk about them. If that person won't let me speak directly to them, I'll just speak about them publicly. My free speech. I don't sit there crying about that. I go and talk about it. Just like with Rand, it's like you get your video banned off YouTube for violating the guidelines of the website. And then you're going to say that your free speech is being taken away as you're still being able to express your free speech via Twitter. Dude, they won't let any websites have any rules anymore, or else my free speech. Imagine like getting banned on one person's YouTube channel and actually comparing them to an authoritarian government. Like you actually think when you get banned and are not able to speak on one channel out of millions, that's like comparable to a regime that doesn't even let people leave their country. You get how insane that is? How nuts that is, like to try to compare getting like that shows you have like a really weird, just disproportionate belief in the significance of that one channel. You get banned from one channel out of millions, and you compare that to an authoritarian government that won't even let people leave their country. You can still post videos on that website. You can still talk about that person on your channel and all these other channels, but you somehow have been denied your free speech. I just think that is insane. It's funny too because I had a guy who I actually one of my mods banned him and I unbanned him, and then he made a video about me with my name in the title. And somebody was like, "Oh, well, you do the same thing with others." Like, no. When I make a video about somebody, it's to vent because the person usually won't let me speak directly to them. I don't put their name and their picture and play clips of it. No, I'm not trying to expose someone or call myself attacking another person. Like what I do is way different from that. The only time you'll see me make a video about somebody is if it's like some really big content creator. And sometimes I make a video about one of them, it's, agreeing with what they had to say. You're not going to see me try to say they deal in stuff I don't want to be around, all this other, nebulous crap, personal attacks. Yeah, you run your channel like a dictatorship. That's why James was able to say that he didn't agree with me on paying a hooker to get banged, or um, Akatsuki Merchant was able to say he didn't like most of the MCU, even though I did. Yeah, you can never have a differing opinion here. It's like maybe if you didn't personally attack the content creator, you wouldn't get banned. Like we had one guy get banned because he was trying to tell me what necklace I could wear. We had another person get banned because he tried to say I was a mediocre man who lacked upward mobility and wasn't evolving because I didn't want to take his ridiculous advice, which was all centered around him observing my body like the creep that he was. It's like who what merit is there to even listening to that crap? Like these are not people disagreeing with you on anything of substance. It's just personal attacks and really weird comments. The guy that said the 500 push-ups thing got banned because every time he wrote a comment, it was never addressing what I said. Like these people don't provide anything of any validity or substance. Imagine saying that you don't want to talk to women anymore because they waste your time, and then a man that you've never heard of says you're mediocre. You're content with being mediocre. It's like, who the hell are you to say who what quality anybody is? The great Brian has decided that you're mediocre. It's like, yeah, if I'm mediocre, you're worthless because you know who I am. I don't know who you are. Nobody's gonna remember you. Not a soul. And again, I don't have a problem saying something that you like that, which might sound conceited, because this person attacked me first. You know, it's like that's why I said people expect you to just put up with everything on here. It's so weird. If I'm mediocre, he is worthless. That's why he had to use a random football player's picture as his avatar. So like, people, when they come online, they try to sound so strong. You gonna sit over here analyzing my body? I'm like, make a video, coward. Let's see your muscles. Do you remember Megumi, the stream where the guy was like claiming to have muscles, and I asked, and I requested that he make a video, and it's been like 2 or 3 months, and he still hasn't made the video. And I was like, if you make a video, I'll comment on it, I'll share it, and he didn't do it. I always say that when like these guys that write these like again, I'm not here to body shame someone else, right? Because it doesn't have anything to do with what I'm talking about. But I think there's something wrong with the idea that I'm supposed to prove everything that happens to me, but then these people get to hide their faces and talk about the way another man looks. So if you're so fit, let's see it. Let's see the muscles. And yep, still waiting for that video to be uploaded by that clown. It's never coming. I tell you, people online, when they come on here, try to sound so strong. They try to convince you that they're all doing so great with their physiques, but they always have a thing where they're hiding their faces. No, next time, anytime one of them comes on here trying to like make fun of how somebody looks, always gonna ask them to show their face. I'm telling you, if we actually started applying that rule to these people, you would see very few of them be able to actually prove they do. Like that guy that said do 500 push-ups. You think if I had muscles from doing 500 push-ups every day, I would have a picture that only shows the top of my head? Do you believe that? It's the same thing with the guy that was saying, "Oh, mediocre man. Oh, go to get good hygiene." It's like, okay, well then show us your physique. Show us the fruit of your labor. Like, why would you have this physique and then hide behind a picture of a football player that we know you're not? Same thing with the one that wrote the 10 requirements to. It's like, dude, show proof that you've done any of this stuff yourself. Show that you have the financial balance. Show that you're a panther and an alpha male. Show it. I would love some proof. Like I'm just tired of people being able to not only not show their faces, but not show proof that they've even ever been with a woman, and then they get to come on here and write all this nasty stuff to you. It's like I just think something's wrong with that. Like we're wrong, but we're the ones showing all this proof. We got so many screenshots, we ran out of them. And we have a surplus of screenshots, and they have a shortage of their own evidence, but they're the ones who are in the right? Just like with that triple L person, it's like show proof that you've seen a man get rejected for 5, 10, 15 years, and then Magic Woman comes up. It's like none of these people ever prove what they say, unless it's something that contradicts what they're saying. I just want some proof. So when we do those edit videos, we always show screenshots. We're going to turn this into the YouTube. Like, if I'm going to get persecuted in the kangaroo court of this website, I think that the people persecuting me should show some proof of their claims. Because when I do a video about how like insane chicks are, I always show proof more often than not to support my claim. Even in the video about the like women's many options, even though I didn't have a screenshot for one of the examples I brought up, I still had screenshots from multiple other women showing that they had said things that alluded to the possibility, and in some cases proof that they showed themselves, of all these other men talking to them. Whatever happened to that raisin person who was trying to say women have struggles? This is my Brandon, tell Megumi what happened to that raisin person. We found out something very interesting. Somebody got exposed. They got caught with their pants down. But that's another one. It's like they don't show any proof. They just write stuff in the comment section. We gotta make that video too. Why do men online try to sound like they're drowning in women? Or what was the other one I wanted to use? I told him I wasn't surprised. Come again, something happened. No, he found out that I was a guy. I mean, like I said, I'm not surprised because chicks usually don't even watch this stuff anyway. So I don't, and like I said, I don't like sit around wondering about the people in my comment section. And then I found out that one of the trolls on the stream last Monday is that Tony guy that like supposedly made peace with me, and he had the nerve to change his name right to Trevor. Like we wouldn't figure, because I figured out who it was because I went back to the video that he wrote his comments on just by happenstance, right? Because I sometimes go back to my own stuff, and I was like, oh my god, that's him with a different name. Makes me question why they posted themselves as a woman in the first place. Then again, I'm actually not surprised myself. It's just funny that like you made this big deal out of like making peace with me just to start up drama again. Like just to like that's why I said that we need to start calling that person Karai from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Like she would go from being with Shredder to the Turtles, then with Shredder. It's like you start off as a troll, then you try to be like a regular chat member, then you go back to troll. So you're like the internet version of Karai. You have a heel face turn, then you have a face heel turn. So I said, don't ever believe any of the people on here that like start messing with you. They'll just go back to it. They're all the same. These clients have nothing to do with their time. I just don't see the point of like what That's why that stream is called what was the point? Like what what do you get from doing that? A, he thinks he's Naruto, where he can turn. No, you know what? He thinks he's Rama one half, where he can turn into a woman. Pour some cold water on him. His hair turns red. His chest gets bigger. Oh, congratulations, Dio. I thought that was just funny. Like, you really went from trolling to then trying to be cool with me to then trolling again. And I didn't even do anything to him. That's what I thought was crazy. Dude, I don't get these people on here at all. They are so weird. They really do have like 5 personalities. What's that one candy where it's like first they're sour, then they're sweet? What's that candy? Um, it's like a gummy candy. That's what they are. Let me look that up. Oh, Sour Patch. That's what these these people on here are Sour Patches because first Tony was sour, then he was sweet, then he was sour again. Yeah, we just found it. Dude, he is literally Sandman. Like Sandman was first a villain, then he was a good guy, then he was a villain again. Like that's what he is. We went to school together like 10 years ago. I don't think we ever met up or crossed paths. Oh, I know that candy. That's sold here too. Yeah, that's what they remind me of. First they're sour, then they're sweet. Because when he came to that stream after he wrote those 5 paragraphs on the new N word video, his words got a lot kinder and gentler. She's driving an hour and 10 minutes just to meet me for coffee. I could really picture them taking these people that like are in the comment section and they put them in a little bag together and they all have this little sour stuff and they're all so angry they got the bag, then they act nice after a while. First they're sour, then they're sweet. They're a different kind of treat. No, this chick stuff has destroyed people's minds. They are all absolutely insane. Just the way that these guys act on here. Like it's one thing to not agree with, oh, it's a waste of time to talk to chick. It's another to go and like harass somebody and like change your name after making peace with that person and saying in March you were never gonna watch me again, but then still coming back as late as August. They have multiple personalities just like most chicks. Dude, if you see some of these broads, they will go from like being really nice to mean in like one day, like 5 messages, they just shift. That's why I said they're Blitzwing from Transformers Animated, where he's got the 3 heads, where one is the icy personality, then one's hot, then one is crazy. Well, we already made that joke before. Chicks are Decepticons, where they show interest in you at first, and then when they say they don't like you, they pull off they reveal the purple insignia, and then you hear Megatron giving them orders. Make sure before you throw him away, you ask him for some money. And he got Starscream's like, if I was in charge of this operation, we would have had dollars from him months ago. Oh my god, somebody needs to make like a Transformer show where there's like a chick that is just affiliated with the Decepticons, just walks around with a boombox. Oh, that'd be so accurate. Anyways, look, I'm gonna get off of here. I've been going for long enough. I gotta call this person. Hope you enjoyed the stream. I might do it again on Wednesday. Definitely, I'll do it again on Saturday. So, thanks for showing up, Megumi, Dio, Brandon, Akatsuki Merchant. Hopefully, that Nyazine person vanishes forever. You know, like Jimmy Hoffa. But one can only hope. So, thanks. Mm.